He was kidnapped in the middle of the night by a killer dubbed the Bone Breaker and then tortured for 43 hours. I'm True Crime Caitlin, and this is the case. Before we delve into the video, this is a case that I have covered in its entirety over on my podcast, True Crime with Caitlin, which is available to listen to right now wherever you stream. In July 1995, 13-year-old Thaddeus Phillips and his family moved to Baraboo, Wisconsin. Everyone was seemingly settling in well. The family were gelling with their community. Thad had enrolled into school and was making friends. The family, however, having no idea that just days after their move, they would be thrust into a real-life nightmare. On the evening of the 29th of July, Thad had fallen asleep on the sofa after watching a movie with his family. In the dead of night, he felt himself being lifted from the sofa, and in his sleepy and confused state, he just presumed that this was his dad carrying him upstairs to bed. But it wasn't. He was carried to a house around about a mile or so away by 17-year-old Joseph Clark. Joe dropped Thad onto the cold, hard ground, shocking him awake. He then quickly ushered Thad inside and through the dirty house, which was littered with rubbish, broken furniture, and mouldy food. Joe then guided Thad upstairs to his bedroom, where the two boys sat on the dirty and soiled bed and had a conversation. They were talking about baseball cards and cars, both of which were things that Thad was incredibly interested in, until Joe switched. His face became twisted in anger, and he pounced on Thad, pinning him to the bed and took hold of his right foot. Joe began to forcefully and viciously twist Thad's foot until he heard a sharp crack and Thad screaming. He had snapped Thad's ankle. Over the next 43 hours, Joe would continue to inflict this horrific, sadistic torture on Thad. He would go on to break his thigh bone, his fibula, and then both of Thad's legs. Joe would beat him. He continuously jumped up and down on Thad's torso, which resulted in almost all of his ribs breaking. When Thad tried to defend himself against Joe, which he did many, many times, even though Joe was double Thad in stature and was completely uninjured, Joe would make very real threats to kill him. On one occasion, he put a pillow over Thad's face until he couldn't breathe. During a short period of time, when Joe wasn't torturing Thad, wasn't inflicting all of this barbaric pain, he would actually talk to him. Joe confided in Thad that he had a thing for bones, especially breaking them, because he liked the sound of it. After inflicting these injuries on Thad, Joe would wrap them up in lots and lots of socks, almost as if he was trying to make a makeshift cast. He wanted to heal Thad's bones just to break them again. During his captivity, Thad had made an attempt to escape and was caught by Joe, who mercilessly beat him as a punishment. On the 30th, when Joe was once again leaving the house to spend time with his girlfriend, he wasn't going to be taking any chances of Thad potentially escaping again, and so he locked Thad inside of his bedroom cupboard. Sat inside of that dark, dingy, damp cupboard, Thad realised that if he didn't escape, he was going to die. Either Joe was going to kill him or his injuries would. With nothing but will and sheer determination to live, Thad began his escape. Using a guitar that he managed to get his hands on inside of the cupboard, he smashed his way out of it. He then pulled himself along the hallway. Again, Joe has broken both of Thad's legs, so he can't walk, he can't run. He is having to drag himself everywhere. Once Thad got to the top of the stairs, without an ounce of hesitation, he threw himself down, which caused him so much pain that he actually passed out. When he came to, he eventually managed to make his way to the kitchen, where using the phone, he dialed 911 for help. When he got to the hospital, the doctors would tell him that if he had waited just a couple of more hours, he would have been dead. In the hospital, Thad told the police officers who he was speaking to that Joe hadn't just tried to kill him, but that he had confessed to successfully murdering other young boys and had gotten away with it. This revelation absolutely stunned the officers because Thad was able to give them the name of a young boy that they recognised, Chris Steiner. The year before, in 1994, 14-year-old Christian Steiner disappeared from his bedroom. His body was found a couple of days later in the Wisconsin River, and his cause of death was determined to have been from drowning. There was something about Christian's case that just didn't sit right with the police, and despite their investigation into his case, they weren't able to figure out exactly what had happened to him. With this new lead from Thad, Christian's body was exhumed and sent for another post-mortem, where it was discovered that Chris's legs had been broken in the exact same way as Thad's, officially linking Joe to his death. After Thad's incredible escape, Joe Clark was quickly arrested. At the end of his trial for his crimes against Thad, Joe was handed a sentence of 100 years imprisonment. He once again went to trial for the murder of Christian Steiner and was convicted, handed a life sentence without the possibility of parole. There is so much more to this case, including another murder attempt on Thad Phillips' life. If you would like to hear all of that, this case in its entirety, including Thad's incredible survival, the entirety of Christian Steiner's case, and how Joe Clark was convicted, you can tune into my episode on the True Crime with Caitlin podcast, available right now wherever you listen.